So this dude, Darius Whitfield, shows up looking sharp as a tack in a custom-made suit, ready to kick off this big tech conference. But you won't believe it, the hotel staff took one look at him and told him to hang out outside. Seriously, what happened next just completely blew up in everyone's faces. It was a little before 8 in the morning when Darius climbed out of his black Lincoln Continental right there in the hotel's circular driveway in downtown San Jose. You know, the kind where you pull up to the front. He adjusted the sleeve of his navy blue suit jacket, and the fabric caught the morning sunlight just right. Perfect lines, fresh shirt, fancy Italian shoes. The guy looked like he meant business, all precision and stuff. But the valet didn't even budge, didn't even take a step. Darius was holding his car keys in his hand and looked over. The young guy working valet looked away, pretended to be busy on his phone, then turned his attention to the car behind Darius. "Hey, can you park this one?" the valet asks his buddy, just ignoring Darius like he wasn't even there. So Darius takes his keys back, parks the car himself, and walks over to the hotel doors. I'm telling you, there weren't any big signs or a red carpet, just clean glass and a quiet lobby. Nothing that would give you a clue about what was about to go down in that place. He opened the front door and noticed the little smile the concierge had kinda disappeared. It was there and gone in a split second. "Can I help you?" the woman at the front desk asked him, without even looking up. "Yeah," Darius says, "I'm here for the SummitNet conference. We've got the Redwood room booked, I think." The woman quickly scanned his face, frowned a little bit, then went back to staring at her computer screen. "You work for one of the vendors?" she asked him. "No, I'm the CEO," Darius says. She blinked. "Right. Could you just wait outside for a moment? We're still getting the space ready." He paused. "I'm also the keynote speaker." There was no apology, no moment of realization from her. Just a tight smile and a flat, "We're still not quite ready. Please wait outside." Another staff member, this young dude in a blazer with a walkie-talkie hanging on his belt, showed up behind her. He looked Darius up and down like he was checking for a badge or something. "You with security?" he asks, lowering his voice. Darius answered calmly, "I'm Darius Whitfield. I'm running the conference you're hosting today." There was a pause, and then the guy tilted his head towards the door. "Just give us a few, sir. We'll call someone to come get you." Darius took a deep breath through his nose, nice and slow. People were starting to show up. A couple of early investors, you know, the money guys. One of them, a white dude in a gray plaid suit, got instant handshakes and warm smiles. Nobody asked him to wait outside. Darius caught his eye, but the guy didn't really even notice him and just walked on through the lobby, escorted by the same staff who had just told Darius to step outside. The hotel doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. So there Darius was, back on the pavement, standing just outside the main entrance. He checked his watch. It was 8:09. His speech wasn't for another 51 minutes. He had plenty of time. But something was brewing inside him. And it wasn't just anger. It was something colder, something calculated. "Okay, let me know what you think, and send me the next part." I adjusted some words for YouTube compliance. Across the street, you got a mom pushing a stroller, heading for the coffee shop. The bus pulls up to the corner, wheezing like it always does. Life goes on, you know? But Darius is still standing there. A grown man who built his company from the ground up, getting treated like he doesn't belong just because he doesn't look the way they expected him to. His phone buzzes in his pocket. "Boss." It's his assistant, Jalen. "Just checking in. Did they say hello yet?" Darius is still staring at those hotel doors, keeping his voice calm. Not exactly, but something clicked right then, not in them, but in him. Jalen's still on the phone, his voice low, but on alert. "What do you mean, not exactly?" "They asked me to wait outside," Darius tells him. There was a pause. Not shock, not disbelief, just quiet. Jalen knows Darius well enough to know that when he talks like this, even and measured, he's not just telling you something. He's figuring it out, cataloging it in his head. "You want me to come down?" Jalen asks. "No," Darius says. "Stay with the investors. They'll be showing up in the next 15. I'll handle this." He hangs up, straightens his tie, and heads back through those doors. Inside, the same woman behind the counter sees him, but her face doesn't change a bit. "I thought I asked you to wait outside, sir," she says, tapping away on her keyboard. "And I waited," Darius says, plain and simple. "Now, I'd like to talk to the event coordinator. My name is Darius Whitfield. I'm the founder and CEO of Whitfield Dynamics. We booked the Redwood Room and 2 floors of your suites for this conference." This time, she actually looks him in the eyes. But there's no apology there, just a hint of doubt. Like she's trying to figure out if this is some kind of joke. "Mr. Whitmore, was it?" "Whitfield." Another pause. She turns to the young guy in the blazer. "Can you call Gina from events?" The guy nods and walks off. At that moment, a bellhop rolls by with a luggage cart loaded with briefcases. Darius steps aside and catches a glimpse of 2 of his board members getting off the elevator, each wearing those SummitNet conference badges on their suits. They're greeted by a hotel manager who seems to have popped out of nowhere to shake their hands. Darius raises a hand slightly to get his attention. The manager glances at him, hesitates, then looks away. "Ma'am," Darius says calmly, turning back to the front desk. "I'm going to say this one more time. I'm not a guest. I'm not with security. I'm not delivering anything. I'm the reason these people are staying here. I organized this whole summit. I brought 60 of the most important investors in West Coast tech into this building today." The woman opened her mouth, but before she could say a word, the guy with the walkie-talkie came back. "She's on her way," he says. Then, after a pause, "You really the CEO?" Darius gives a small smile. "I didn't just build this company. I financed it. I wrote the first line of code. I signed the contract with this hotel. And I picked this location because I believed in the idea of profession." They both just stared at him. So he added, "I've got $5 billion under management, and I almost trusted you to help grow that." The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't disbelief anymore. It was straight-up discomfort. The woman behind the desk shifted around, suddenly not sure what to say. But before she could even try, Gina from events practically marched into the lobby, holding a folder, already talking a mile a minute. "Mr. Whitfield, I am so sorry about the delay. We didn't know you had arrived. Please come with me. The Redwood Room is all set, and we've got coffee being served. The investors are already gathering." The same staff who had asked him to step outside now stepped back like he was parting the Red Sea. Darius followed Gina past the desk, past the guy with the walkie-talkie, and past the woman whose face was totally flushed now, whether from embarrassment or something else, he couldn't tell. He didn't say another word. He didn't need to, because what they'd failed to see wasn't just some guy trying to sneak into a place he didn't belong. What they missed, what they refused to see, was a man who owned the place, just standing there, giving them a chance to fix things. They chose not to. But what was coming next wasn't going to be some show of anger. It was going to be a lesson in remembering things. And Darius had a damn good memory. The Redwood Room was at the back of the hotel's conference wing, down a hallway with abstract art and muted carpeting. Inside, the lights were dimmed for the opening presentation. Rows of chairs, a podium with the SummitNet logo, and a side table with bottled water and fancy name cards. Darius scanned the room quick. Jalen was up front, checking the sound levels with the A/V guy. Investors were filing in, chatting quietly over coffee. None of them knew what had just gone down in the lobby. He didn't go to the podium, not yet. Instead, he went into a side room, the private lounge they'd reserved for speakers, and closed the door. Then he pulled out his phone. "Tammy," he said, when his head of operations picked up. "We're moving the summit." There wasn't even a gasp on the other end. Tammy was used to this tone. "Today?" she asked. "Right now. You want to relocate 50 people with less than an hour's notice? Don't want to, need to." She didn't argue. "You want me to call the Fairmont or the Hayes?" "Hayes," he said. "I want every investor redirected there. Make sure they know this isn't just some scheduling mix-up. It's a matter of principle. I'll explain later when we're all settled. Also, cancel the rest of our booking here, suites included. Charge the penalty to me personally if they refuse to let us out of it." Tammy exhaled slowly. "Understood. I'll call Jalen too." Let him know to delay the opening and start redirecting the guests. Then Darius ended the call. No yelling, no phone slamming, just action, clean and simple. He looked at his reflection in the dark glass window of the lounge. He didn't feel right or anything. He didn't feel like he'd been proven right. He just felt tired. Tired of walking into rooms that looked at him and saw everything but who he really was. There was a soft knock on the door. It was Jalen. "You want to run through the slides?" Darius just shook his head. "Change of plans." Jalen raised an eyebrow. "Oh, we're leaving. I've already made the call." It took Jalen a second, but then he got it, nodding. "They didn't even try to make things right, did they?" "Nope." "Want me to tell the board?" "I'll talk to them myself. Just get the guests moving. And make sure nobody thanks the hotel on their way out." Within minutes, Jalen was quietly spreading the word with subtle handshakes and nods. "Emergency relocation," he whispered to one group. "We got a better setup just a few blocks over," he told another. "Mr. Whitfield will explain everything." Meanwhile, Tammy was on the phone with the Hayes, locking down their backup venue, getting staff in place, transferring the A/V equipment, and the lunch catering. Darius went back into the Redwood room just once to grab his notes and his laptop. A hotel manager finally showed up, face tight, clutching a folder in his hand. "Mr. Whitfield, I understand there was a mix-up at the front desk this morning, and I want to personally apologize. We never meant to cause offense." "You didn't offend me," Darius cut him off calmly. "You just disqualified yourselves. This isn't about ego. It's about standards." The manager blinked. "Is there anything we can do to make this right?" Darius zipped up his laptop case and looked at him. "You had your chance." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to, because the only thing louder than getting mad is leaving. And that room, which had been full of important investors just minutes ago, was emptying out fast. As Darius walked out through the same lobby where he'd been told to wait outside, he saw the same desk clerk watching him, her lips pressed into a thin line. The young guy with the walkie-talkie was gone. He didn't stop walking. A black SUV was waiting out front. The driver opened the door, and Darius got in, his phone already ringing. But this wasn't the end of the story that day. It was just a part where other people started figuring things out. By the time the first tray of croissants made it to the now half-empty Redwood room, most of the guests were already blocks away, gathering in the grand atrium of the Hayes, San Jose's other luxury hotel. Unlike the first place, the staff there didn't need to be convinced who Darius was. They welcomed him like they'd been waiting for this for weeks. Meanwhile, back at the first hotel, the front desk looked totally confused. The receptionist kept checking her screen, scrolling through the guest list, then the room blocks. Her brow furrowed as she picked up the phone. Gina, the conference guests, they're leaving. Gina, the events coordinator, was in the loading bay, helping the A/V team pack up gear. "What do you mean leaving?" "I mean people are checking out. They're canceling their keys." Some just walked out without saying anything. In less than 20 minutes, the lobby that had been filling with handshakes and business now had big empty spaces. The conference signs were still standing there, but all the energy had just drained away like water down a broken drain. Then the manager's phone rang. "Sir, the company has canceled all the bookings. The suites, the Redwood room, the catering, everything." He blinked. "That's not possible. It's summit day." But it was possible. And it had just happened. Calls started flooding in. The front desk clerk looked panicked now, trying to get the manager's attention while dealing with another call from housekeeping. "This guest just left without any notice," someone said. "This client said they won't be paying for today's brunch. They said talk to Mr. Whitfield," another added. A security guard walked up to the manager. "That SUV outside? It picked up him and a few others. They're gone." The whole thing was like watching dominoes fall. No yelling, no blaming anyone. Just disappearance. At the Hayes, Darius stood in front of a big projection screen in a sunlit conference room. He spoke slowly, clearly, without a hint of being upset. "Before we get started, I want to thank you all for being so flexible. I know this change of location was unexpected, but I believe where we meet says a lot about what we value." A quiet agreement rippled through the room. I picked that other hotel because of its reputation, its service, its close location to your offices. But this morning, I was reminded that a fancy lobby and a 5-star rating don't guarantee respect. He paused. I was asked to wait outside. Twice. By staff who never even asked my name. I parked my own car. I had to tell them who I was. I had to explain what I did. But in that place, none of that seemed to matter. A few jaws tightened. Heads shook. Some of you might be surprised by this. Others, maybe not so much. He let that sink in for a moment. But I don't believe in yelling. I don't believe in putting people down just to prove a point. I believe in moving forward. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. Somewhere that sees us, hears us, and treats our business with the respect it deserves. The crowd cheered, not because they felt sorry for him, but because they respected him. In the back, Jalen watched, arms crossed, looking proud. Meanwhile, back at the first hotel, the conference signs were being taken down. Maintenance staff wheeled away coffee urns that nobody had touched. The catering team just stood there, glancing around, not sure if they should even start serving the food. The manager stared at a piece of paper in his hand. A formal notice from Whitfield Dynamics ending their agreement, effective right now. No lawsuit, no threats, just a clean break and a big loss for them. He called the general manager. "We lost the event," he said. "How?" "The guest we didn't recognize? He was the event." But while the hotel was trying to clean up the mess they'd made by not paying attention, Darius was about to show them something they really didn't expect, his own story. The day was winding down. The sun cast long shadows across the street as Darius sat in the back seat of the SUV, his suit jacket folded neatly beside him. No tie now, just the open collar of a white shirt and a tired. "Okay, I've finished rewriting the entire story segment you provided. Let me know your overall thoughts. I hope the tone and style are what you were looking for." Look in his eyes. Jalen was next to him, scrolling through emails on his tablet. "You sure you don't want me to put out a statement?" Jalen asked. "People are already starting to post stuff online. Someone from Marlowe and Banks even took a video of you walking out." Darius shook his head. "Let them talk. I'm not trying to go viral." He leaned his head back against the seat. The engine was humming away. Outside, kids were riding bikes on the sidewalk, laughing like crazy. A woman in a red jacket helped an older guy out of a rideshare and into a small dental office. Just a regular day, you know? But inside the car, there was a certain tension. "Can I ask you something?" Jalen said, not even looking up. "Go ahead." "Why didn't you just lose it on them? I mean, they deserved it after everything." Darius didn't answer right away. He just looked out the window. Then, slowly, he said, "When I was 19, I walked into my first interview with a resume full of summer jobs and a GPA that should have opened doors. The receptionist asked if I was there to deliver food. He smiled a little. I said no. And then I waited for 2 hours. The interview never happened. They just forgot about me." Jalen glanced over. Quiet. I could have raised hell, made a scene. But I didn't. I left. Found another door. And another after that. He rubbed his hands together, like he was remembering the cold grip of a steering wheel from a long time ago. The thing is, I spent the first part of my life thinking that if I just achieved enough, people would stop jumping to those conclusions. That degrees and money and suits would somehow be louder, you know. He looked over at Jalen. They're not. Jalen nodded slowly. But this wasn't just some random receptionist. This was a whole hotel, a whole situation. Exactly, Darius said. That's why I left. Because I didn't need to prove anything. I didn't need them to understand. I needed the people watching to see what it looks like when you refuse to beg for respect that you've already earned. He exhaled, looking out the window again. My father used to say you can't force people to see you, but you can choose where you won't be invisible. Jalen leaned back in his seat, letting that sink in. They stopped at a red light. Across the intersection, a billboard flashed with an ad for a startup accelerator. Young faces, sleek logos, bright colors. Jalen smiled. You ever think we'd be the ones running those things instead of applying to them? Darius smirked. Every day. And it still doesn't feel real sometimes. The SUV pulled to a stop in front of the Whitfield Dynamics building. Glass, steel, and quiet pride. As they got out, the receptionist in their lobby waved, already holding the elevator for them. As they rode up, Jalen broke the silence. You ever think about telling that story? The one about being 19? Maybe, Darius said. Not to get sympathy, but to make things clear. Because people think this stuff just happens now and then. One bad day, one rude employee. But it's never just about one moment. It's about patterns. Repeated, sharpened, and buried. He stepped off the elevator, briefcase in hand. You can't fix what people don't want to see, but you can sure as heck make a statement when they show you their true colors. That's the end. Let me know what you think of the finished product. I tried my best to capture the tone you requested and make it suitable for AI voicing and YouTube. That people won't talk about, but you can show them how to walk away from it with their heads held high. But what Darius didn't know was that this story, his quiet stand, was already going way beyond him. The fallout started slow. Not with big headlines. Not with people getting angry. Just a few whispers passing around in the corners of conference rooms. Then a handful of emails. By the middle of the week, 3 other companies had quietly canceled their bookings with the same hotel. No statements. No protesting. Just a simple message. We've decided to go in a different direction. But inside those boardrooms, the conversations weren't vague. You hear what happened with Whitfield's team. Yeah, we don't need that kind of risk tied to our name. What's the backup venue again? The hotel tried to fix things. A regional sales director reached out to Whitfield Dynamics, offering complimentary bookings for the next quarter, free suites for the executives, even spa credits for the investors. The offer never even got past Tammy. She read it, closed the email, and marked it as handled. Darius never responded. Because when trust is broken like that, it's not something you fix with discounts. It's not a problem with money. It's about what you let happen while you were in charge. Meanwhile, word of the move got around to the media. A small tech blog published a story. Not a mean takedown or anything, just a timeline. What happened? Who saw it? The change of venue. The polite but deliberate silence that came after. But that story made its way into inboxes, then into text chains, and eventually into the conversations at happy hours where young black professionals raised their glasses to Darius Whitfield. Not because he clapped back or made a scene, but because he didn't have to. Because sometimes the best move isn't slamming the door. It's walking away from the room like it never deserved you in the first place. Back at the Whitfield Dynamics office, the boardroom was quiet. Darius sat at the head of the table, with 4 of his senior staff and 3 partners from a private equity group from Seattle. One of the investors cleared his throat. We heard about the switch. People are still talking about it. Darius leaned back a little. Is that a problem for you? Not at all, the man said. In fact, it told us more about your leadership than the presentation ever could. Another investor nodded. It's rare to see someone with that kind of control when things get tough. That's where trust comes from. Darius gave a little nod, but he didn't brag or gloat. This wasn't about winning. It was about never playing by a rigged rulebook to begin with. Later that evening, he walked down the quiet office floor, stopping to look at a whiteboard covered in scribbled diagrams, sticky notes, and equations. Jalen was there too, sipping something from a chipped mug. You see the story? He asked. I did. They left out the part where the valet ignored you. They always leave something out, Darius said. It doesn't matter, Jalen added. People know what it was. The ones who need to know, they got the message. Darius looked over the whiteboard again. You know, when we built this place, I didn't want it to be showy or anything. I didn't want people to walk in and feel like they had to be impressed. I wanted them to feel seen. That's the difference, Jalen nodded. They see you now. No, Darius said quietly. They always saw me. They just never expected me to be the one signing the checks. He turned toward his office, flicked off the lights, and paused at the doorway. Let's keep building, he said. But before he left for the night, there was one more person Darius needed to talk to. Someone who reminded him why moments like this are important. The next morning, Darius stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office, a fresh mug of black coffee in his hand. The sky was flat silver, making everything outside feel quiet and far away. There was a soft knock at the door. "Come in," he said, not turning around. The door opened, and a young man walked in. Elijah Green, mid-20s, sharp but still a little green around the edges. One of Whitfield Dynamics' junior analysts. He held a folder in his hand, but looked unsure if now was a good time. "You said you wanted to meet?" Elijah asked. Darius turned, gave a small nod, and pointed to the chair across from him. Elijah sat down, putting the folder on his lap, but not opening it. His eyes darted to the side, like he wasn't sure how to start. I heard what happened at the hotel," he finally said. "Some of us were talking about it in the lunchroom yesterday." Darius didn't say anything right away. He just let the silence hang there. Not uncomfortable, just steady. "I guess I just wanted to ask, how do you not let it get to you?" Elijah said. "How do you stay calm when it's that obvious?" Darius smiled a little. "You think I stayed calm?" Elijah paused. "Didn't you?" "No," Darius said. "I just didn't let them see it." He set his coffee down. "You know what they saw when I walked into that hotel? A man standing where they didn't think he should be. Nothing else mattered. Not the work. Not the contracts. Not the conference. Just their own picture of what power looks like. And who doesn't fit in it." Elijah leaned forward. "So why not stand up to them? Why not tear into them and let the world see?" "Because the world already sees." "That's not the problem," Darius said. "The real fight isn't about proving anything to them. It's about teaching the people who come after us that you don't need their permission to make moves. You don't need permission to belong." Elijah nodded slowly. "You handled it with class," he said. "If it were me, I don't know." "That's the thing," Darius said. "You don't have to know. You just have to remember this. Never trade your composure for someone else's ignorance. If they misjudge you, let them. But make sure that the space you're building for yourself, your company, your name, your team, never makes anyone else feel like they don't belong there." Elijah sat back, the words hitting him harder than he expected. "That's what it means to lead," Darius said. "You don't